Welcome to Crocs in the Kitchen.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Jessica. Yes, we're back for another week of the Lisa and Jessica Show. Massive applause. So we'll come up with a name eventually once we're pretty much done with this show. So this week has been an interesting week for both of us. I think we have a lot to talk about for sure. So we are gonna get into. Brian wanted me to call this video "Cheats, Treats, and Crunchy Bits." I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to call the video that, but I might. So we have a lot to get into. Brian and I had ourselves a little off-plan day that was planned, but yes. And I know Lisa has been having a little bit more struggles this week with some things. So we have a lot to dive into, but I wanted to start out with our Recipe Swap Club. And I made a logo just for the Recipe Swap Club. So I hope you guys like it. So the idea of the Recipe Swap Club is just to bring up recipes that either of us have tried out, or if you guys want to comment below and tell us recipes that you want us to try out, we will look at those. Obviously we can't make everything, but the idea is just you find a recipe that you like and you want to share it, or it's been fun for Lisa and I to both make the same recipe of stuff and then kind of compare notes as well. As far as recipes that I made this week, and I should remind you guys, if you're looking for any of these recipes or more information or any of the books we talk about or anything that we talk about that you want more information on, click on the blog post that's linked in the description below, because I put all the information on there, and it will all be linked in there so you can find everything in one place. But one of my favorite things that I made, I think my favorite thing that I made in this last week was the lasagna stew from Kim Campbell from Plant Pure Nation. She has a weekly cooking show on YouTube called Plant Pure Kitchen, and she made this recipe a couple weeks ago. And I'm telling you, Lisa, like, you have to make this one, seriously.
I will. I'm going to make it this week, definitely.
Yes. So it's basically everything you could want from a lasagna, but in a stew. So you don't have to worry about all the layering and all the putting it together. And then you top it. So you heat up this nice, amazing lasagna stew, which I think it tastes better the next day after it's kind of all settled together. And then you heat it back up. And then you top it with this amazing tofu ricotta, which is just, it's such a good combination. I'll put some photos and videos
Making me
of
hungry.
I know. The only thing that I will probably swap. So I like to make recipes to the T the first time I make them, unlike some people who just sort of throw things together. We all have our different styles. I like to print the recipe out, put it on my clipboard, and follow everything to a T. I think the only change I think I'll make next time for this lasagna stew is we don't usually eat a ton of pasta. And so I think I want to up the stew to pasta ratio. So I think I'll double I like making a giant batch of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I will double everything except for the lasagna and leave the lasagna where it at the same amount that they have in the recipe. And I think it'll be perfect. The little lasagna noodles. I'm going to definitely probably make that one again very, very, very soon. Is there anything that you made this week, Lisa?
Well, I mean, I've been making hummus a lot, which leads on to something else we want to talk about, the overeating of cashew nuts and things. I made the oat cakes with you, not oat cakes, the oat clusters. They're very
I just realized I shouldn't have taken a bite because I'm going to be chewing.
Yeah, that's going to take a while. Shall I eat one as well? While we're going to sit here chewing for a while. Spitting crumbs everywhere.
So these are the oat clusters from Well Your World. And I actually looked up Lisa sent me the video, and I looked on there, and the recipe was you had to watch. You guys know Dylan. Dylan loves to just throw things in a bowl. He's just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So
my style. I like it.
Yes, Lisa style. And so I actually messaged Reeves, and I was like, Reeves, can I get the recipe for these? Because I need a recipe to follow. And so she actually updated the description of that video with the recipe. So you guys check out check out the link in the blog post, because you can get the actual recipe for these oat clusters from Well Your World. So what was your idea for making these? Somebody actually suggested this to you, or how did you come up with this idea?
Just last week, somebody in the comments, Shirley, I think it was, she said these are good for when you're looking, just you're looking in the cupboards just for something to eat for the sake of it, but also I would say these are excellent with a cup of tea or coffee, or like a little mid-afternoon snack to keep you going until what I call tea time. Then,
which is dinner. Yeah, and I think they're actually really good, and I don't know, they seem really filling. Like I ate a couple of them when I made them, and I think this would be a nice variation on a breakfast for me, as I usually have my oatmeal, but I could have like 3 of these little things and like eat those and feel perfectly satisfied with that as a breakfast.
well, I made these this morning about 10:30, something like that, and so I hadn't actually eaten any breakfast, and I was going to go out on a dog walk at dinner time. So when they came out of the oven, I managed to leave them for a few minutes before I started scoffing them
Yeah.
down.
And now you flattened yours out a little bit more and made them a little bit more crispy, I think, whereas mine are a little bit kind of soft in the middle.
Yeah, and I think for me personally, I mean, they're good and chewy, and like you feel
Yeah.
like you're getting a real like stodgy thing, which is, I like that sort of thing. But I will
Stodgy.
go thinner. I'll go thinner next time because I like, so it's more like a. This is where we get complicated. I call it a biscuit. You call it a cookie to be more of a crunchy thing.
Yeah,
Whereas,
to me, yours looks more like a cookie, but mine is like a little plump thing. Now, I also put these freeze really well, so I actually froze these just to test it out, and then I just put them in our air fryer on the bake setting for like a couple minutes to heat them up. But yeah. The other thing that I wanted to try, I was inspired by your oat clusters, is some granola. I've actually never made my own granola before. I made this oil-free banana bread granola from Simply Quinoa, and it turned out really well. It adds a little bit of crunch. So what I did was I chopped up an apple and then added it to like a bowl of apples that have just been like coated with cinnamon. So I'm gonna try to get a
it's like having apple crumble, but cold.
yeah.
Which
Well, and I
breakfast, if you can
warmed
have
up
apple crumble. Yes.
I warmed up the granola, and I'll show some pictures of what it looked like when I baked the granola and all that. But mm,
And speaking of granolas, we've both watched Brittany's savory granola
mm,
today, and I am definitely going to get onto that because I think that will really help me this week. And somebody in her comments had put about like sprinkling it on top of salad and all sorts, to add a bit of like extra taste and crunch and things. So I'm definitely going to get on that because I have struggled this week for certain things. So
yeah, and I think you can just hear me crunching. I think if you're looking for crunchy, seriously try out the other granola recipe too. Which I think you could also make the Well Your World into more of a granola instead of like but you
well,
could like crumble
I
it
think
or
next time I do these, I will do them even thinner and then
yeah.
bake them lower so they go
Yeah.
even crispier.
It's so it's so versatile of a recipe. You can make it really any way you kind of want it.
Put whatever
But
you
yeah,
want with them as well.
yeah. So definitely check out those recipes. I'm enjoying having a little switch up from my oatmeal that I usually eat every single morning for breakfast. But the other recipe that we had this week was the onion and bean soup that Brian made. So we actually put up a video of that recipe on our YouTube channel this week. And that is a good recipe if you're just looking for a simple, straightforward soup. You came home after a busy day and you're just like, I want something easy. It's literally onions, beans, and some seasonings and spices and all that kind of stuff. Like it's so simple to put together. So definitely check that one out. I know a lot of you have been making it and letting us know that you've been enjoying it. So that's been cool. I also made pizza this week. I sent some pictures to Lisa and she's like,
I
tell me your
love
pizza. Tell me your pizza secrets. I'm actually planning a video where we do like maybe we do like pizza 3 ways. So we're not big on making our own crust. We have a crust that we really like at a local grocery store that we can buy. And I'll put information about that. But we I feel like crust, you could find, recipes for crust and that kind of stuff. But for me, the interesting part is how to like top it and, not in like your traditional, like meat and cheese and all that kind of stuff you'd find on a pizza, but do the veggie pizza with like different kind of stuff. So I'm working on a video for that shows you guys, but every once in a while I just need pizza, and this is like my guilt-free version of pizza, and I don't feel bad eating it.
That's what everybody needs in the world, guilt-free pizza. That's like, if you can invent that, that's like the magical miracle of, I don't know.
Yes,
everybody needs
exactly. But other than that, I think those are all the recipes I tried out. So did you try, I know you made some hummus, right?
Yeah, well, this week sort of I fell down the rabbit hole of eating cashew nuts nearly every day and sometimes more. And then I think I got to Thursday and I was like, I have to stop, because the hummus I made, I put cashew nuts in, and then I'd like make I did like a hash in a pan, like potatoes and onions, and I think there was broccoli and stuff. And then I was like, I know, I'll make a cashew cream sauce on the top. And then the next day I had pasta with a cashew cream sauce on the top, and it's just so tasty and delicious. And you can make it sweet or savory, but calorie wise, fat wise, you just can't eat that much every single day. So I thought, I have to stop that, just make that more limited for the week going ahead now. Because I've been really craving like bread and things, and I was getting a bit fed up with salad stuff, so I ended up putting cashew cream on everything, which just misses the point slightly.
Any other recipes that you're planning on making in the next week or so here?
Well, I want to make in this book here we've got an oil-free vegan mayonnaise, which is based with tofu. So obviously a lot lower fat than if you're using cashew nuts. So I'm going to have a go at this one from my Cooking with Plants book.
Which I did not realize when I put a link to that book in our last blog post, and I'll put it again in this one, but I did not realize that was the Cooking with Plants. Should we sing the song?
Yeah.
Cooking with plants. Vegan made easy. I've watched her videos on YouTube, and I'm like, Brian, we need a theme song like that. I know we have our little end, but yeah, that was I didn't realize that's whose book it was.
I started watching this lady maybe like 5 years ago or more, and we must sing Cooking with Plants Vegan Made Easy at least 6 times a week for the last 5 years. So she's really like ingrained in our brains. So I'm definitely going to have a go at making some mayonnaise, because I think that'll help me get away from using cashew nuts as my go-to for everything.
Yes.
And also there is a nice looking potato and lentil dal.
Ooh.
But like more of a stewy kind of.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like something that would be right up Brian's alley. So I need to get myself a copy of that book, obviously. Anything else recipe wise before we end the recipe swap club?
No, I think that's it for me for now.
All right. Well, if you guys have any recipes you want us to try out, or, you've tried out any of the same recipes and you want to give your feedback, definitely comment below and let us know. And we would love that. But up next, we're going to talk about cheat days. Now, cheat days are something when I used to, when I was on the standard American diet and Brian and I were trying to lose weight back in the day, cheat days, we lived for cheat days. Like cheat days were, and it was, sometimes it would be once a month, then it would turn into once a week, then a cheat day turns into a cheat weekend. And it was basically in your head. It was, well, in my head at least, it was, okay, I have to change what I'm eating because I'm massively overweight, and I have to change the way I'm eating. But I can still eat the same way that I ate in the past, and I can still do that for one day. And so I didn't have to give it up in my head. And there was no like lifestyle change or any of that kind of stuff. And so that's how we looked at it in the past. Now we don't plan cheat days. We don't have like, oh, once a month we're going to eat off plan. We don't have any of that kind of stuff. We try to stick more to what Ray Kroenice talks about, and they talk about in the in Penn Jillette's book. They talk about it as the rare and appropriate, and they also talk about it in Healthspan Solution. Healthspan Solution, and they say they teach their clients to use rare and appropriate in place of cheat days. Now, rare and appropriate is based on people and places, not time between events. So they're saying basically when you commit to a cheat day every week or month, the timing often drives the cheat. With rare and appropriate, you might find yourself, for example, well, not right now, but someday, in a small temple in China with a local who's offering not only an impassioned piece of their culture, but something you likely won't experience again. And so you're not going to be like, oh no, sorry, sorry, I got to stick to my, obviously if you're vegan and you're not going to go beyond that. Like no one's asking you to not eat vegan, but like you could still enjoy the moment and get enjoy a nice meal with them that is vegan, even though it isn't follow your plan exactly. But if every meal is a celebration, no meals are celebration. Moderation is a worn path to living with old habits and often hides the amazing foods and flavors that you've yet to appreciate. So yeah, I just think that's a really interesting way, and it really clicked with me when I first read Penn Jillette's book, when they talked about it as the rare and appropriate, and it being like about you're with people, you're out with you're in a situation where you're with certain people and you're like, hey, you're having a meal and you just enjoy it and you just move on the next day, right?
Yeah, and I think if you call it rare and appropriate, you're less likely to plan and obsess about it. So like if you're saying like Tuesday is a cheat day, you'll be like, I can't wait for Tuesday all the time. Or when I get to Tuesday and all the time. But if it's just something that comes up and you have to make a decision, you make your decision and then the next day you move on for it. But you haven't had that time to fully obsess and get totally fixated on it.
Yeah, so it says
and then it'll happen again next week as well on the same day.
Oh yeah. So it says, rather than building in cheat days, allow yourself to have a rare and appropriate when eating with someone meaningful to you or when visiting a unique place, those kind of things. And so definitely check out, that's one of the Healthspan habits from Healthspan Solution, the rare and appropriate. Check out this book because there's amazing recipes, but there's also a lot of good information in the beginning, and we'll bring up more of it in some future videos. But so I wanted to kind of lay down that context and then talk about what Brian and I did this week. So okay, so January 16th was the 14th anniversary of the day that Brian and I first met in person.
No.
So it's not really our anniversary. We were actually friends at the time. We weren't dating yet, but we had been talking online for friends. No, we were really friends. I swear. Everyone says that. They're like, sure, you were friends. No, but Brian and I had been, we had been talking online for about 6 weeks, I think, and we had become pretty good friends. And we decided, hey, you know what? Let's meet in person. Let's meet each other. So I chose the location. It was this little gazebo in a town called Webster Groves that I actually went to Webster Groves University for a couple of years. So I got off work and I drove down and met Brian, and we went and walked around. We went to a record store. We went to a little cute restaurant, but we were just friends. But it turned out to be the most romantic little restaurant, of course. I paid for lunch. I'm just going to point that out. I think that's when Brian knew that I was the one. Now he's like, this girl bought me lunch. So yes, that was January 16th. And usually I'm actually gone on January 16th. I think for the last 7 years or so, I've been gone because my mom and I would fly to Atlantic City for this Rob Thomas weekend that benefits his amazing foundation, Sidewalk Angels. And they didn't have it this year, of course. So I was home. So I decided that we had met at this gazebo and done our little special day every year after that. So we started dating later that year. And then on the third year, he proposed to me under the gazebo. It's a very mushy, yes, love story. But we hadn't done it in a while. So I was like, you know what? I'll surprise Brian and we'll go to the gazebo and do that. But before we did that, our friend Chef Chris did at the Vegan Deli and Butcher, he did a taco hell pop-up event. And you saw the pictures, didn't you, Lisa?
Yeah.
So do you have Taco Bell
Join
over
in.
there? Do you have Taco
No,
Bell?
I don't think so. I think there might have been a hint of one once, but I've never seen one.
I think when we were walking around Nottingham with Martin, we walked past a Taco Bell, but they're very like far and few between there, like maybe in like London or, you know, like
Yeah.
whatever kind of areas. But
I mean, I'm all for it if they want to start, bringing them.
so
As
so
long as they
is
got
so
vegan options.
yes. So Taco Bell is known for having some vegan options, but Chef Chris made an entirely vegan Taco Bell menu and like we had to try. I mean, there was no way we were gonna pass it up. And so it happened to be also it was like a pop-up event on the 16th. So I was like, okay, this is the perfect chance for us to like have an off-plan kind of day. So we went to the Taco Bell thing. It was freaking amazing and blew our minds. And then we went later to dinner at the same place that we had gone on January 16th, 2007, way back in the day, and ate a nice little meal there.
Didn't eat the same thing, did you, as the first time round?
Well, their menu has changed quite a bit, but we didn't actually end up eating.
Please.
We didn't actually end up eating a lot at that dinner because we had eaten so much at the Taco Bell thing earlier in the day. Like, we were so stuffed. It was like ridiculous. So I learned a couple of things. So first of all, this was kind of a blurred line between planned cheat day and rare and appropriate. Yeah, it was a special occasion. It was people like you could argue for it to be that it was people, it was with Brian, whatever. But
It's memories as well.
yeah, it's memories. It's fine. Yeah. And it was a one time, like the Taco Bell thing, that was like a one time, you know, he was only doing it for 2 days. So this was the only time we were going to be able to do it, kind of thing. So yeah, you could argue for that. But I did kind of build it up in my head a little bit too much during the week. And to the point where like this was on Saturday. So on Thursday and Friday, I was kind of like, oh man, I'm going to eat bad on Saturday. So like I have this chocolate bar that happens to be in the pantry. Might as well start eating little bits of that. Like just little things, you know, had snuck their way in on nothing big, nothing, you know, crazy, but I don't know. It is
Yeah,
that
but it's
thing.
like, well, if I'm going to eat bad on Saturday, this doesn't matter today.
Yeah.
And you sort
Yeah.
of like, you allow
You
yourself
can,
in there.
yeah, it's a very fine line to walk. And then the other thing that I realized was like we did a full day of eating, and typically that's what we do, you know, when we're doing like our rare and appropriate, it ends up being like a whole day. And honestly, I think like going forward, I just want to do one meal and then move on because the whole day, like honestly, I felt so sick by the end of the day. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I feel sick. I feel awful. The next morning I had heartburn, which I haven't had heartburn since we start, you know, like for a long time. I used to get heartburn all the time, but I don't get it anymore. Like, why do I do this to myself? Like, why do I torture myself in these ways?
It's one of those things that even after several years of doing well, like you have done, it's so hard to sort of train your brain to do something else. Like it's almost like this sabotaging, self-destruct thing that
Yeah.
a lot of us do. And we, even if we're doing well, then we like to kick our own legs out from under ourselves and make us feel terrible. The only good thing is that you don't want to feel like that again. So
well, and the good thing is like I actually do sometimes I'll do little like journaling in my little I like to use the notes on my phone and I'll write down like how I feel in some of those moments so that I can remind myself, oh, hey, you know, this wasn't worth it necessarily. Like and I will say though, it does make me happy that like an off-plan day was literally us going, you know, part of the day at least was us going to a vegan Taco Bell pop-up event. Like that's not something a few years ago that would have been on my radar at all. So I like those, like I think we did one when we were traveling where we went to this really good Indian restaurant and ate kind of off, like, you know, stuff that had oil and stuff like that. Like those are the kind of rare and appropriates I want to have now. Like I don't want to go back to just eating my old, you know, my old standard American diet. So,
and also if you'd had those two different meals that you had on the same day, if you'd had them like a week apart, you'd have really enjoyed them, felt okay, gone home and eaten your normal big salad tea, and you'd have just enjoyed it and you'd have been on your way again. But because you like doubled it up, it kind of made it a bad thing instead.
yeah.
So but
The good thing is I was able to rein it in. And then yesterday we got like right back on. We had some really good leftovers that were already ready in the fridge. I think the worst thing you can do if you're planning any kind of like rare and appropriate, meal or day is to come home and not have like a plan in place for what you're going to eat after that. Cause then you can just go in that cycle of, oh, well, we don't have anything made. We might as well keep eating. We've already done the damage. Might as well. And that's how, I spiral into these I've let myself get into these patterns before. But so just a little bit of interesting, I know everybody does this kind of stuff differently. I know some people are like, don't do it at all, like they just can't be tempted. But for me, I'm just trying to find that balance, because I'm an all or nothing person a lot of times in my life, and I'm trying to find that balance where I can allow myself to have the occasional treat, but then it isn't like overtaking me mentally, so that I am like just living for the next treat. And like, honestly, I was so excited Sunday morning to just get back to eating the stuff that we had been eating that makes me feel
yeah,
good. So, I think that's progress. But let's okay.
definitely.
Okay, so let's chat a little bit about how the last week has gone for you. I know we had a little conversation before we started the video, and I know you've got a few things going on, so I want to try to help you out best I can, and then maybe people in the comments can also offer some support and all that and encouragement as well. So what have you got going on, Lisa?
Well, I did a sort of similar thing to you that you did on Saturday. I did on Friday. We had 2 days, Thursday and Friday, where we were snowed in, so I didn't get to go to work and things. So, and I'm still at that point of trying to eke out the shopping that I've got in the house, so I don't have to go to supermarkets for the whole COVID situation. And I don't know whether I'm using that as an excuse to just because I'm lazy and I don't want to go or what. But anyway, so because I'd started off the week putting cashew nuts in everything. By Thursday, I'm like, right, I've got to stop this. But I didn't really know what else to eat. And I'm sort of getting sick of either cooked vegetables, which I'm finding just too mushy all the time. I think it's texture with a lot of food that I miss, especially with the likes of bread and things. Because I will toast bread a lot when I'm making a sandwich, because then it's extra crunchy and things. But so when Friday tea time came around, I'd done quite well in the day. I'd had like avocado on toast and things, but it was gluten-free bread with seeds and stuff, so I didn't feel totally guilty about it. But I ended up eating half of Mike's Chinese, which was tasted amazing. I'm not gonna lie, but then we because the snow was still down and it had frozen everywhere. We lived next door to a park, and we walked through the park to the corner shop that's on the other side because Mike wanted to get some sweets. I thought, take the dogs, have an evening stroll, what have you. Anyway, he bought some jelly sweets, and I was like, well, I've had a Chinese, just gonna eat all these jelly sweets. And they were blue, so no fake. You shouldn't eat anything that's blue. Nothing in
So
nature's
what is okay, when you say jelly sweets, what is that? What
like gummy,
exactly?
like
Like
gummy
gummy.
sweets.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and they were so nice. I was like a wild animal shoving them in my face.
Lisa.
And I was stood there with this packet of sweets going, and just, anyway. So with all the salt and sugar in the Chinese, and then a good amount of jelly sweets on top of that, which were blue, I felt dreadful. Oh my God. I was having palpitations. I thought, I felt like I was like, is this what it is to have a heart attack? I'm like, oh, it's just awful. And I felt like I couldn't drink enough water because of the Chinese. And then I couldn't sleep because of all the E numbers in the sweets. And and then I had to get up and go to work the next day. And I was so tired because I hadn't slept. And I just thought, well, you're an idiot, aren't you? I brought it on myself. I knew what I was doing. But because we'd already gone down that hole of, well, we're eating the Chinese, so we'll eat the sweets. But I overdid it. I could have just had a couple and been, oh, well, they're nice, and put them away. But no, stuffed them in my face, and I felt awful. So there you go.
So then, okay, so then walk me through. So that was Friday night, right? So then what happened Saturday? Did you feel like continuing that, or were you just like, nope, I
No,
felt so bad.
Yeah, in the morning, I still felt like I was having palpitations, and I felt like, because I hardly slept, I felt like I was getting up in the middle of the night. You know, when you that kind of almost a bit spaced out feeling, it was horrible. Um, so in the morning, I knew that I had to get something to eat, but because I was then rushing because I was tired, I just had a couple of pieces of toast with some peanut butter on. No big deal, nothing, not terrible bread, just it was what it was. And then I ended up eating it at work because I hadn't planned ahead, but I knew I didn't want to be eating burgers and chips and stuff. I ended up eating a bagel with salad in it, which I thought wasn't great. Could have done worse. Could have done better. Um, and then on the way home from work, which was by then about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I had a flat tire on the way home, and we stood in the cold because I rang Mike, and then we couldn't work out how to get the spare tire off my car because it wasn't in the boot, it was underneath. And by the time we got home, it was 9:30 at night. It was freezing cold, and you know when you're just like, I am done with today. So I ate, I think I had another 2 pieces of bread, but this time I think it
Lisa.
was from, I know,
Okay, so
into
so
a
we've
bread pizza.
we've talked about bread a lot, and I know that is definitely like definitely a thing that you have trouble giving up. I mean,
It's a quick, easy thing for me as well. It's when I think, well, I'll eat this, and then I don't have to think of anything else.
yeah. Well, and I don't think you need to give up bread entirely, like we talked about before. So I would say that if like Brian has 2 slices of his fancy Ezekiel bread every single morning on his banana sandwich, but, then he doesn't eat any other, like I'll have a pita. I have these little pitas that are about this big, and I put them in the toaster, and they're like whole wheat
Yeah, I'll
pitas.
get some of them, I think.
I eat those, and it's like a very thin, and actually they get quite crispy if you put them in the toaster. They get quite crisp. They can get quite crispy, and then you cut
You
them in
can chop
half.
them up. You can
Well,
chop them
so
up and bake them as
yeah,
well.
so it's like they when I toast them, then I can cut it in half, and it's like so it's like this big surface of like I'll put like hummus or something like that on them. But yeah, so Brian, when later in the day when I'm like making a pita, usually he's like, no, I don't want a pita. Like I already had my bread this morning. So I think it's just about knowing what you're, you know, not completely cutting it out, but knowing like, okay, I'm going to allow myself to have like 2 pieces of this specific kind of whatever kind of bread, or, your gluten-free bread or whatever it is per day, but not going over that, because then, before you know it, it's like every meal you're eating some sort of bread
Yeah.
or whatever. But I don't think you have to cut it out entirely at all. But I know it's hard to, like, if you're
It
used
comes,
to,
yeah, I'm going to say that comes down to me and organization. The fact I didn't have anything else and I couldn't be bothered. So I think I just did
it's
that.
easy, it's
Yeah.
convenient, it's like, yeah. And so I think you know me, I'm always, and I know you have like, you don't have as much like refrigerator space or all that kind of stuff, but I always have to have just like everything prepared, because I feel like that's the only way that I set myself up
Yeah.
for
You're right.
success. And I know you've talked a bit about getting, you mentioned it a little bit about getting bored with just eating like the veggies or whatever, and like you want more texture. And I think, and I was thinking about it, I think honestly some of where I get the texture from is from the giant salads, because I've got like a mix of, nice raw veggies and the lettuce, and you do get that kind of crunch from it. I know it's not the same as like some of the
Toast.
crunchy, yeah, toast that you're looking forward to. Also, I will say with getting bored with what you're eating and being prepared and all that kind of stuff, what really works for me, I love a good clipboard and a good binder. So I have this binder that literally has like every recipe that I like. That, like, the first one I have them hole punched, but I have and I'll put notes on there and everything. So this is like the lasagna stew I just made. I actually photocopy recipes too from we have like a little printer that allows me to photocopy, but I'll photocopy recipes from books. Like this is one from Health Fan Solution that's in here with my little notes on how I modify like to make a 4 times batch or 2 times batch or whatever it may be. So I'll go back to this, and this has recipes that are Brian and I that are our recipes that we've created. Of course, now I can just go on my website and be like, oh, look, I have a website, and look through my recipes. But I'll also put recipes. And so I'll forget about a recipe that I made, you know, a year ago that was amazing. And then I'll look in that book when I get bored with what I'm eating. I need something a little bit different. So I encourage everybody to kind of to make your own book that's a collection of the recipes that you love to make. And that's kind of what really works for me, because then I can flip in there and get excited about eating this way again.
Yeah, actually, my friend Kath, I mean, God, it's been a long time since I've been to her house, since we're not allowed to visit anyone anymore. But when you go in her kitchen, she's got a big notice board up with all sorts of things on. And I noticed that she has a list of all her favorite meals to make. So when she can't think of what to make, she just looks on a list and then she picks something from it. And I thought, that's a good idea. I need that prompt. She actually got me for Christmas a notepad with magnets on the back to put on the fridge. I was like, right, I'm going to do that. Put this on the fridge. Of course, the cats have knocked it down and trashed it.
But yeah, I think sometimes we just forget, like we make something that's really good and then we just forget about it. We're like, okay, we forget about it. So having that like, so some sort of organization where you can go to that and be like, oh yeah, like I don't make that. And I don't know, to me, part of this lifestyle, what keeps me going on this lifestyle is just like, I don't know. I think I've replaced my obsession with a lot of eating of food with actually making different recipes. And it's something that I do with Brian too. So that definitely helps, because it's just something that we can do together that's positive. And, coming in the kitchen and making a recipe together that we've never made before is always fun. And I don't know, it's just like entertaining myself with doing that instead of just shoveling in like a whole box of wheat thins or something.
That's really good. I think these oat clusters are going to help me this week. I wish I'd made them before today, because I would have probably had a completely different week. And also with Brittany Giroudi putting on that the savory granola this morning, I'm definitely going to make that, because like somebody said in her comments, sprinkling that on salad and things, that's going to give me that extra like texture that I'm craving and wanting. So definitely going to do that. You're just eating another. Did you forget that the stick in your teeth? I'm going to eat one then.
They're so good though.
Yeah, mine's got pecans in, and they're so just get a pecan or a bit of date and you're like, oh yes.
I think I used walnuts in mine. I'm not sure. I have like so many nuts because we don't really use too many nuts, and so we go through cashews a lot. But
you're nutty enough already.
I'm nutty enough already without the nuts. Yeah. But okay, so any other kind of challenges that you faced in the last week that you wanted to bring up, or anything else?
Speaking of challenges, I found my most recent Slimming World pack. And I must have gone to this group a few times, and then I decided I wasn't feeling it. And to be honest, there weren't too many.
So give a little, just for people who don't know what Slimming World is. It's similar to like the Weight Watchers kind of.
It's a fat club, as you call it. It's a fat club, and you go, and in normal times when there isn't a pandemic, you can go, and it's a really supportive atmosphere, and there'll be a whole load of people there all fighting for the same goal. And so I actually loved going to Slimming World, but the trouble was when I tried to go back as vegan, there weren't many people who were vegan. I don't remember anybody actually, and so they didn't really understand where I was coming from, so it didn't really work for me after I stopped eating meat and things. But I noticed that when I opened this booklet up, that I must have done a half of a stone when I was there last.
Oh wait, and a stone is like 14 pounds?
14.
Okay,
yeah.
So like 7 pounds. Okay, so you got your achievement award.
Yeah, so you get all these little certificates for when you lose your first half stone, and then a stone, and then etc. And and you get your certificate and everyone's like, well done, yay, like that. And so you're like, oh yeah, I did that. So I'm still about £5. I've lost about £5 since that Christmas week, which is great.
Yeah.
And then I always said I wasn't going to try and focus on weight, but I thought, you know what, for this week, a little goal to set myself. So next week, I can stick this up on my fridge or in the background here. If I can lose another £2, then I'll be like, yes, certificate. I mean, this is from May 19, but yeah, still good. Still good.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I don't know. I think it's important not to like focus too much on it, but I think sometimes setting a little bit of a goal where you can say, okay, because then throughout the weeks, the decisions that you're making, like, if you eat too much, you add cashews to everything, you're not going to meet the goal, but I think that being said, you're doing a really great job so far. And it's not, it's never, it's not, this isn't one of those things where you just all of a sudden one day it's like, okay, I'm perfect now. And I'm just like, whatever. And I think that the fact that you're just making this effort at all to just go from eating more of like junk food, vegan kind of diet to incorporating more of this, whole food, plant-based into it is just going to, it's a good thing overall. So I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm
proud of you.
Yeah, and it's been nice too having these little chats, because you and I always chat like on WhatsApp back and forth, like throughout. We'll send like audio clips to each other, or we'll like chat with each other, send little photos throughout the day, but we've never like have these times to like actually connect face to face. So now it's like every Monday I get to have my little Lisa chat.
Yeah, I love it, especially at the moment, because you feel so disconnected from everybody. It is nice, and it's nice to talk to people on the phone, but to actually see people's faces, I think it's just such a good thing for people's mental well-being as well. To see.
Yeah, seeing my face is definitely good for people's mental well-being. I think that's all I've got for this week. Thank you guys for watching. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, you can. You can click the little bell and get notifications whenever we post a new video. You can thumbs up the video. You can eat oat clusters. You can extra crispy. Yours look really good. Like mine are really good, but yours look really like crispy.
Well, I spaced them all out, and then I had these extra big ones just filling up.
You're just like, all right. Well, follow us on social media. You can follow Crocs in the Kitchen on Instagram and Facebook and all those good kind of places. But comment below, like the video, thumbs down the video, whatever you want to do. We're not picky. But other than that, I think that's all I've got. So we will see you next time on the Lisa and Jessica Show.
Yay! Bye. That looks like you're really chewing. So delicious and not chewy at all.
I feel like such a creep.